Kerkorian made very expensive mistake in his life before building his empire that's worth billions of dollars. He lost millions on bad airline deals, watched real estate investment collapse, and survived market crashes that destroyed other investors. But here's the key: you can learn from his failure without paying his brutal tuition cost. By studying how Kerkorian made decisions, how he spotted opportunities, timed his moves, and bounced back from disasters, you can skip years of costly trial and error. His mental framework for evaluating deals and managing risk took decades to perfect, but you can absorb these lessons in minutes. Every $1 billion win came after learning hard lessons about what doesn't work. Understanding his approach means you can avoid the common traps and start making strategic decisions right away. These aren't just business tips, they're shortcuts to thinking like someone who consistently turns problems into profits. So, I'm going to be going over his decision making process and mental models when it comes to hiring, how he handled failure, innovation, adoption, R&D, core principles. So, if you haven't already, subscribe. So, the first one is called core principles. Kerkorian started with nothing and inherited nothing, parlaying that into billions. He was described as a tough guy who wept at funerals and a humble man privately proud of his accomplishment. Core values that shape him included trust, loyalty, hard work, learned in the school of hard knocks. He treasures his privacy above all else, rarely gives press interviews or speeches. He believed in taking risk, sharing a gambler's comfort with risk with his father. He was known for his integrity. His handshake was regarded as a binding contract. He was a man of his word, and he never defaulted on a loan. He always paid his gambling debts, even if he had to sell a plane to settle a marker. He did not like self-promotion and wished his name was not be on buildings or parking spots. He hated feeling vulnerable or helpless and vowed never to let it happen again after a setback. He generally did not dwell on mistakes, preferring to learn a lesson and move on. Despite being involved in competitive deals, he believed he made sure the other person got a fair deal. He strongly valued loyalty, whether from employees, friends, or his team. Now, how does he approach hiring? Well, Kirk hired experts to tell him things he didn't know. And to be straightforward and honest, he delegated management decisions and trusted his key hires to run operations without interference or a muddy chain of command. He was mindful of results but not process. So, here's a few examples. Fred Benninger, a former accountant and executive from Flying Tiger Airlines. He was Kirk's right-hand man. Excuse me. On Vegas hotel projects and guardian of the bottom line. He was known as the Prussian for his tough negotiations and aversion to spending. Kirk consulted him on most business matters. Alex Shufi, a hotel casino manager lured from Sahara, hired a trained staff for international hotel using Flamingo as a training ground. He was known for being unvarnished and challenging Kirk's decision directly. All right. Kirk recruited high-level management prospects, sometimes by invoking the history of the company, such as persuading Lee Rich to take the reins of MGM. His staff and business associates were expected to be punctual. They were never late twice. So what is Kerkorian's decision-making framework? Well, Kerkorian was a business genius who ignored his MBA advisors. He believed there was no point in placing small bets, whether at craps table or negotiating table. Betting the limit became his trademark. He relished taking big gambles. Reined in only by the house limit, he approached real estate investing with a similar strategy, investing nearly million on 80 acres of sand in potentially prime but problematic location. He didn't make wild guesses, but his decisions based on his knowledge of the business and confidence in the future demand. He saw hidden value that most investors missed, which is the MGM's film, library, and real estate. After losing money on dunes, he learned the bitter lesson not to invest in a business he didn't run. He relied on and trusted the judgment of his experts and advisors, but sometimes overrode their counsel, such as ignoring Tenenbaum's advice about Chrysler. He could maintain a poker face, revealing nothing during important negotiations. He would bet on assessment of friends he trusted, like Hank's belief that Howard Hughes wouldn't build. He was willing to settle legal cases quickly, even leaving money on the table to avoid the stress and lost time of litigation. His decisions could be sudden and final, such as the order to close the Lindsay Foundation. Now, this is one is going to be the most important section of this video, which is key mistakes, failures, and how he pivoted. All right, so there was a Brazilian partnership. He lost money due to a sloppy accounting and conducting business. By the seat of his pants, he walked away, he said, "Take it and shove it," and returned to California to go into business with his sister. He learned a hard lesson about partnership with strangers. So there was a Dune Investments. He lost $50,000 because of the business was too far gone. This was a bitter lesson, teaching him not to invest in a business that I didn't run. He pivoted by focusing on his air charter service and later pursued casino ownership where he would have control. Another one would be called Kennedy Lobbying Campaign. Considered a waste of time and money, he felt misled when politicians didn't keep their promises. Naive, expecting them to be men of their words like he was. He didn't rely on a political lobbying in the same way afterwards. Another one would be SEC stock offering denial. This cost him an estimated $100 million and made him feel vulnerable and helpless. He hated feeling the mercy of forces beyond his control and vowed to never let it happen again. Aubrey's betrayal. When MGM President James Aubrey criticized Kirk's judgment in a letter, Kirk saw it as a betrayal of the team dynamic. Aubrey was fired. Western Airlines merger opposition. His opposition to a merger with American Airlines was seen by some as holding out for money. He stated he preferred negotiating from a position of strength. In 1995, he had a Chrysler takeover bid. The bid failed to gain control. It was a lucrative failure that reinforced his confidence in fighting hidden value in the auto industry. Daimler-Benz lawsuit. He sued Daimler-Benz over the Chrysler deal, asserting Tracinda lost $1 billion. He later conceded, "I made a mistake." 2008, there's a lot of failures and lessons here. 2008 Ford investment. He bought shares at a low but sold ahead of the recession. His executive Alex called it bad timing, though Kirk's instinct about Ford's recovery were correct. City Center development 2009, an $8.6 billion project. Its timing coincided with the recession and faced potential default. It was described as a potential financial fiasco and poster child for poor thing. His team worked to restructure loans. Lindsay Foundation closure. A precipitous decision possibly based on misperception and about his generosity being taken for granted. His finance chief carried out the order quickly. And in 2016, The Promise movie, Kirk's last investment, it was described as a looming financial flop in the terms of box office. But the story about his Armenian ancestors was personally important. All right, so those were his failures, setbacks, and a few lessons that you can take away from his lessons and setbacks. Now, his leadership style. We're moving on to his leadership style. Kerkorian was a humble, soft-spoken, and understated man. He was described as a business genius. He took the risk but never took the credit, which partly explained the loyalty of his people. He was the delegator in chief, trusting his key hires to manage the details and focusing on the results rather than the process. He expected his team to pull together once decisions were made. He tolerated disagreements among his executives but demanded loyalty and cohesion once a path was chosen. He supported his loyal employees, refusing to approve a merger that would cost TIA crews their seniority. He showed empathy towards his executives, checking on their well-being during crisis. Now, how did he approach innovation? Kirk was a visionary. He was daring aviator and movie mogul. He played a major role in shaping Las Vegas. He foresaw the need for jets in the air charter business and made his company the first supplemental service to own one. He pioneered North Atlantic air routes. As a pilot, he saw potential growth in the leisure travel industry, which he believed would benefit both Las Vegas tourism and well-run airlines. He conceived a bold plan to combine the movie side of the entertainment business with the gambling side, leading to the creation of the MGM Grand Hotel. He built the world's largest hotel 2 more times after the International. His city center project was designed as a visionary city within a city, focusing on the architecture rather than just gaming. Now, financial strategy. Kerkorian started with nothing and parlayed it into billions. He was a business genius who played the odds on the Wall Street with uncanny skill. He was called a deal junkie, addicted to financial thrills. He believed in taking big risks and placing big bets, stating that there was no point in small bets. He used traditional banks like Bank of America for financing, establishing impeccable credit. He learned about the utilized tax benefits from his bookkeeper, Arnold McGraw, including lease deals, depreciation, and capital gain profits. He invested strategically, putting most of the stock income from the Studebaker deal, which is $960,000, into the Las Vegas real estate. He funded major projects through various means, including public stock offerings. Using assets as a collateral for loans, he was leveraging accumulated cash reserves. He wasn't afraid to take significant debt for ambitious projects. He saw hidden values in companies such as MGM Film Library and real estate assets, which he leveraged and sometimes sold to generate cash. He employed tactics like using company cash reserves to buy back stock, which not only increased stock values, but also increases percentage in ownership. He also sold assets strategically when he felt his luck might run out. He often bought assets when they were undervalued, and that's his approach when it comes to financial strategy. Now, partnership and networking. Kirk went into business with his best friend. His sister Rose, after a poor partnership experience in Brazil. He relied heavily on a network of friends and associates for business and personal support. He cultivated relationships in traditional banking and aviation worlds. He had a loyal friend at Bank of America, Walter Sharp, who helped him with his financing. He used connections such as his bookie Charlie, the Blade Turin, to gain meetings with potential financiers like Harold Roth. Though he ultimately avoided doing business with a shadier elements introduced this way, he leveraged his Armenian connections for business and philanthropy. He befriended celebrities like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Tony Curtis, and Cary Grant. He befriended politicians like Bob Dole. He used mutual friends to check out potential business partners, like suggesting Terrell Drinkwater check with their common acquaintances. His friendship often spanned decades, while sometimes playing the role of a corporate raider. Kirk told Mike Milken that he thought he was making friends, not enemies, in his deals. So how would Kirk approach scaling? What is his scaling mechanics? Well, Kirk started with a small nothing, running a used plane business and later a charter service. He scaled his aviation business by securing profitable contracts, particularly with the military, which significantly increased TIA's earning and value. He became a major player with multiple industries, movies, resorts, and gaming. He scaled his Las Vegas holdings by building the world's biggest multiple hotel multiple times. He used strategic purchases like the Flamingo Hotel as a training ground to scale staff and management for a larger hotel projects. He grew his Las Vegas empire one hotel to controlling nearly half of all the strip hotels and casino space with the acquisition of Mandalay Resorts. His vision for the city center was a large scale city within a city development. Branding and positioning. Kerkorian did not want his name on anything, not on buildings, not street signs, even his parking spot. He sought to establish the MGM brand as a symbol of modern gaming resort giant. He retained the rights to the MGM name, logo, and line when selling the MGM Grand to Bali. When building MGM Grand Hotel, he planned to fill it with movie memorabilia and name rooms in restaurants after stars. Linking the hotel to the studio legacy, he envisioned Las Vegas as an adult Disneyland. That was a good positioning, good marketing. His holding company, Tricinda Investment, and his charity, the Lindsay Foundation, were named after his daughters, Tracy and Linda. Customer acquisition and retention. In his aviation business, Kirk's company, TIA, secured steady revenue streams through military contracts. His hotels, such as Flamingo, used charter services to bring in high rollers. His vision for developing Las Vegas aimed to attract visitors seeking a modern leisure lifestyle. The MGM Grand Hotel aimed to attract guests by leveraging the MGM movie brand and offering a lavish experience. Improving the Western Airlines on performance, under Benninger helped the airline soar to the top of the industry rankings. All right, this one's going to be very valuable. Crisis management. Kirk faced numerous crises throughout his career, from family financial chaos in his youth to potential loan defaults and market shutdowns. He relied heavily on his team of legal and financial advisors during these times. He consulted with trusted friends for counsel during challenging periods, such as speaking with Hank during his rivalry with Howard Hughes. When faced with operational issues, like Western Airlines slipping on time performance, he implemented measures like daily executive meetings on review problems. He strategically used purchases like the Flamingo to solve operational challenges related to staffing new, larger hotels. He used legal strategies such as hiring a hired gun lawyer to pressure settlements into complex litigation like the insurance case after the MGM Grand Fire. During the city center crisis, he supported his team headed by the James Murren as they fought to restructure loans. When facing significant setbacks on personal issues, such as the incarceration of his closest confidant Terry, Kirk sometimes became uncharacteristically reclusive. Adaptability. Kirk demonstrated a strong ability to adapt and pivot. He shifted from being a city kid fighting for his place to a daring aviator. He moved from aviation business into the Las Vegas real estate in the gaming industry. After failure of the Dunes investment, he learned to only invest in businesses he would run. He adapted his airline TIA to incorporate jet aircraft as the commercial airlines switched their fleets. He pivoted MGM to primarily to the studio business and regard control of the MGM multiple times after selling it. He made takeover bids in the auto industry when opportunity arose, showing his willingness to enter new sectors. He adjusted his approach and based on the situation, going from seeking partnership to adopting corporate raider stance. Resource allocation. Kirk focused on a few big ventures rather than many smaller ones, seeking projects with a lot of meat on it. He invested significantly in strategic assets like 80 acres of land in Las Vegas. He used existing assets like the Flamingo, a training resource for larger hotel projects. He was cost conscious, choosing to refurbish a used DC-4 rather than buy a new plane. He ensured key personnel were focused on critical tasks, such as Fred overseeing the international hotel construction. He utilized accumulated cash reserve strategic loans, and public offerings to fund large acquisition and developments. He was willing to allocate significant resources to legal battles and settlements when necessary. His charitable contributions, including millions to the Lindsay Foundation and the American Red Cross, demonstrated significant resource allocation to philanthropic cause. Long-term vision. Kirk often planned many moves ahead, like a chess master. His vision for Las Vegas as a major leisure destination underpinned his long-term investment strategy in the city. He foresaw the growth of leisure travel impacting both airlines and tourism. He envisioned combining this movie and gaming industry to create a diversified entertainment company. He consistently invested in projects and companies he believed had significant long-term value, even if they faced short-term challenges. He balanced short-term gains like stock profits with his long-term goals like building a sustainable company. His investments in the movie The Promise represented a long-held dream connected to his heritage and desire to raise awareness about historical events, indicating a vision beyond purely financial outcomes. Ethical dilemmas. Kirk navigated the complex environment of Las Vegas, which included figures with criminal past, but he was bothered by reports of skimming because it threatened the legitimacy of gaming for legitimate investors like himself. He avoided doing business with questionable characters like Harold Roth and Charlie the Blade Turin by relying on his own trusted connection. He ignored Howard Hughes to the lobby the Atomic Energy Commission, indicating he would compromise his position on certain matters, even for a powerful figure. He faced legal challenges and accusations, including charges related to hiring private investigators, lawsuits from Colombia accusing him of acting selfishly, and a lawsuit against Daimler-Benz, where he later admitted a mistake. Despite being labeled as a corporate raider, he believed he was always ensured the other guy got a fair deal. He demonstrated a commitment to doing the right thing, such as protecting his employees' seniority during potential mergers. Negotiation style. Kirk was known for his uncanny skill in playing odds in negotiation. He was soft-spoken and understated, often using a poker face that revealed nothing. He was persistent and known for getting what he wanted, while sometimes adopting a corporate raider persona. He could also be polite. His handshake was considered sacred and a binding contract. He believed in making sure that the other party receive a fair deal. He could walk away from a deal if it wasn't right. He was known for quickly closing deals with a handshake once terms were agreed upon. When in position of strength, he could impose terms, but still aimed for fairness. How would he approach a problem? His problem-solving methodology. Kirk relied on consulting with his trusted team of advisors and executives when facing complex problems or opportunities. He delegated authority to skilled managers, trusting them to handle the operational details of solving issues with their respective areas. Whether running an airline or movie studio or hotel, he used strategic purchases like the Flamingo to solve training challenges for new hotel openings. He tackled operational problems like Western Airlines, poor on-time performance by implementing strict review process. He utilized legal experts and strategists to address complex litigation and pressure for settlements. When faced with humanitarian crises related to his philanthropy, he acted decisively to fund solutions like an airlift for earthquake relief supplies. Time management and prioritization. Kirk kept regular hours at his office during certain periods, typically from 9 to 4, and rarely took work home. He prioritized vigorous exercise, such as tennis or jogging. After work, he also prioritized his social life. Going out to dinner with friends multiple nights a week, he was known for his punctuality, and his staff quickly learned to be on time. He was capable of juggling multiple major deals simultaneously, such as Mandalay Resorts and Sony deals in the same summer. However, He also allowed personal challenges or periods of grief to affect his routine, sometimes withdrawing from social engagements or canceling plans. He could make a quick decision and drop pursuits if they were panning out, such as ending his interest in the Hertz newspaper quickly. So, what is his personal habits and routines? Well, Kirk described as a humble and private man. He rarely did interviews. He had consistent exercise routine, including weightlifting, walking, jogging, tennis, training seriously, and playing intensely, even into his 80s. He enjoyed playing tennis competitively and viewed losses as a learning experience. He owned and traveled on a private jet and owned a yacht. He enjoyed a cocktail before dinner. He was known for his impatience at times, particularly regarding charity requests. He could be moody and have trouble sleeping during difficult periods. He showed compassion, such as comforting a desk clerk after she had a bad day. Information process filters, or how he learns. Kirk learning began in the school of hard knocks. He learned important lessons from his business failure, such as the risk of sloppy accounting and not running a business he invested in. He relied on trusted experts and advisors to provide him with information and analysis. He listened to their counsel, but he was not willing to ignore his intuition or knowledge led him elsewhere. He checked out before through mutual friends or gathered information about them. He read industry publications and news. He learned by listening to others, including advisors and friends. He treated every loss as competitive as playing tennis as a learning experience. Technology adoption. Okay, we're almost there. After this is going to be the last one, which is legacy exit strategy. Kirk was an early adopter of the new technology in his business. He recognized that commercial airlines were switching to jets and saw the need for his charter services to do the same. Leading to the acquisition of DC-8, he invested the state-art properties like the International Hotel and MGM Grand. He traveled in a custom-filled private jet. His city center project incorporated modern architectural. He invested into the auto industry during periods of technological change and global competition. He stayed informed about business trends by watching financial news. Last but not least, subscribe if you haven't already. Legacy exit strategy. Kerkorian frequently bought, sold, and repurchased companies and assets throughout his career, demonstrating a fluid approach to ownership, which is, I'm not married to anything. Notable sales and exits during selling TIA to Studebaker and buying it back, attempting to sell international leisure stock. Selling the International Hotel to Hilton, selling the MGM Grand Hotel to Bali while retaining rights to the name, selling MGM to Ted Turner, and later regaining control multiple times, selling shares of GM and Ford, and stepping down from the MGM Resorts board. He established the Lindsay Foundation as a major philanthropic vehicle, contributing to millions from his wealth. His final major investment was in the movie The Promise, a project deeply connected to his Armenian heritage, serving as a form of legacy. By telling that story, he studied at the age of 98. Succession planning details are not explicitly detailed. So, though his reliance on executives like Alex and James and the naming of his companies after his daughters suggests consideration of the future. So, that's it for Kerkorian's mental model, decision-making framework. If you haven't already, subscribe. And somewhere on the screen, I made a video about Kerkorian's top 10 business lessons, top 10 business strategies. If you want to watch that, I highly suggest you do. Click somewhere on the screen and stay tuned for my next video. That's it. Peace.